Welcome back viewers to the second part of Mahesh Dattani's Tara. So what I'll be doing right now is I'll be showing you a screen, and this is how the first few pages of the play begin. As you can see on the screen, and I'm quoting, "Maybe we still are like we have always been, inseparable the way we started in life, two lives and one body in one comfortable womb till we were forced out and separated." So here we must understand that this act of separation, the reference to being separated, is a very important motif in the play. We will connect this aspect of separation with the act of separating the sexes. Earlier on, there was just one unisex, sexless being out there in the form of the conjoined twins. But then later on, they were forced out and they were separated and made different. We will discuss this aspect separately in a short while. Now, first let us begin with the character of Tara. So we notice that right from the beginning, she is a very lively character. She is not an ordinary child in the sense that she is very sensitive, she is very assertive, she is very animated, very wise, and has a certain penchant for being sarcastic with her wittiness. And she even says that women have an instinct for these things. So Tara, despite being a kid, her instinct and her maturity level is much more than the average kid of her age. So as I mentioned, her instinct is very strong. Now let us talk about the first major theme, and that is on androgyny. So in this play, we notice that the state of being unisex is extremely important, and it is a motif which is present throughout the play. So perhaps Dattani is hinting at the state of being unisex, the state of being sexless, with the way the characters of Tara and Chandan unfold. Dr. Thakkar informs that the conjoined twins are almost always from the same sex, but in the case of Chandan and Tara, they are of different sexes. So through this aspect, perhaps Dattani is trying to show the feminine in the masculine and the masculine in the feminine. Both the siblings are conjoined from their pelvic area, and we are informed that their sexual organs have never developed. Again, a sense of being unisex. So we will continue our discussion on androgyny later on. But before that, look at what Tara says to Chandan. As you can see on the screen, she says, "You could say that we were separated when we were babies in Bombay." So the reference to separation means a unisex orientation which was separated by force, separated by science. And before this forceful separations, they were just twins. Earlier on, they were one. Now they are separated. The twins then become a girl and a boy in the sociological terms. Before the operation, they were just twins. Therefore, I said Dattani is once again hinting at the androgynous state of being for the twins. Therefore, this act of separation is a very important motif in the play. Similarly, now the important question is, what is the significance of this pelvic region? So the pelvic region of the twins is an important topic to discuss, because it is the pelvic region which describes the sex of a child when it is born. It is the pelvic region which tells whether the infant upon taking birth is a boy or a girl. But it is the pelvic region which is conjoined, thereby making the twins without any sexual organs and thereby without any sexual orientation. It is really interesting to note that it is only after the operation, only after the separation, that the twins become a boy and a girl respectively. But they never become so on the basis of their sex, only on the basis of gender do they become a boy and a girl. So before this forceful operation, they were just twins. Hence, Dattani is hinting at the androgynous state of being for the twins. A state of being where they were sexless, they were happy and comfortable in each other's presence with each other. So now we know that the life of the twins has become miserable since they were operated. So the state of being androgynous, the state of being sexless, the state in which they were born, were their happy state, but after the operation there was nothing but pain and tragedy for both Chandan and Tara as well as the entire family. When the father asks Chandan to go to college, he simply says that he will not go without Tara. Similarly, later on, when the father forces Chandan to come to the office, Chandan refuses again. And he says, as you can see on the screen, "I will not go to college without Tara. I had a sister with whom I had shared a body in one comfortable womb," unquote. So this sharing the body with her own sister in the womb of their mother is a very, very significant point here. Sharing the body with her sister hints at androgyny, where they were both without any sex. So the womb in this case becomes what? A metaphor of a shared sexuality. So this is the androgynous state. So look at, there is one more important juncture in the play which describes the androgynous state of being of both Chandan and Tara. Because there is no difference between the twins. Dattani is hinting at the androgynous state of being here, where there are no differences between Tara and Chandan. Perhaps Dattani is more interested in showing a state which is free from the limitations and connotations of sex and gender. So this was one major theme. So now I will be talking about the second major theme, and that is the theme of disability. Now disability is undoubtedly a very important theme in Tara. Though in one of the interviews Dattani clearly mentioned, in one of his interviews, he mentioned that the main theme that he had in mind was gender, but disability is a very important theme here. So look at the description of the following scene where Tara is describing the way the young children Rupa, Prema and Nalini treated her. As you can see on the screen, and I am quoting, "The ugliest girls in the whole world, Prema and Nalini. They live in the building opposite. They had a friend with them equally ugly. They were all running across the street, laughing their ugly heads off over something. When they saw me get off the car, they stopped. They stopped running and they stopped laughing and they waited watching me get off and walk across the footpath towards them, embarrassing me, making me go slower than I would. When I reached them, they grinned." Nalini whispered something to her ugly friend. "I knew what was coming, might as well play along. I smiled and exchanged names. The other one just tittered. I smiled to her as well. Then I showed it to them. The duckling couldn't believe her eyes. She stared at my leg. She felt it and knocked on it. Silly as well as ugly, I thought." Unquote. So this is how Tara first met the young children, the young kids of her neighborhood. So the way that this people stare at her wooden legs make her uncomfortable. This is a very problematic way in which the children treat her. So these lines show a very problematic treatment of Tara and her disability by the kids. Disability then becomes a sight of amazement, you can say, a sight of being amazed at, a sight of an uncomfortable gaze. Disability becomes a spectacle to arouse the children's curiosity in this case. The gaze is what makes the subject, in this case Tara and Chandan, uncomfortable, as disability is a spectacle for the ones who are not affected by it. So in this case, the siblings have to face stares, giggles, laughters and comments for their condition. So therefore, disability is a very important theme in the play Tara. Tara's disability becomes an object of contempt, laughter and discrimination. So later on, this word, there is this word, very famous word that is there in the play, and that is Vandu Tara. If you can look at the screen right now, and I am quoting it, then the children Tara, Chandan and Rupa engage in a conversation, and there comes a reference to the word Vandu Tara, which in Kannada means odd types, unquote. Now why is this word very important? This is because for Rupa and others, the twins are also Vandu Tara, that is odd types. Dattani has deliberately dropped in this word to show that for Rupa, the siblings will also be Vandu Tara, odd types, something not normal, something odd, something abnormal in that sense. So therefore, the play in more than one way talks about disability. Then also we know that the mother Bharti was trying very hard to somehow bribe Rupa to become friends with Tara. Why? Because she knows that for a disabled child to make friends is very difficult. Now after the episode where Bharti tries to persuade Rupa, look at what Rupa says to her friends when she goes outside. Very important lines, and I am quoting it again. As you can see, "Prema, come quick. I went to her house. Right inside, I met everyone. She is a real freak of nature. But wait till you see her mother. She is really Vandatara. Oh God, I'll never go there again." Unquote. So once again, we see how Rupa describes Tara as a freak of nature, thereby giving a very substandard, a subhuman category to the disabled Tara. There is a certain disgust in Rupa towards the disabled subjects, and that is visible through her language. She describes Tara as a freak of nature. Similarly, Bharti realizes that the problems that a disabled girl like Tara would have to face are enormous. She gets paranoid at a point where she describes how when Tara grows up, it will be very difficult for her to live on the world. As you can see on the screen, she says the world will accept you, but not her. Oh, the pain she is going to feel when she sees herself at 18 or 20, 30 is unthinkable. And what about 40 and 50? Oh God. So you see, two things are at work in these lines. First is the disability of Tara. Second is the gender of Tara. Perhaps Dattani wants to show that disability is double discriminatory for a subject when the disabled subject itself is a girl. The mother realizes that for a girl who is so witty, so quick-witted, so feisty, so quick-witted, it is very difficult for her to live a normal life in a harsh world. She knows that nobody will accept Tara. Bharti also knows that Tara cannot reproduce because their sexual organs are destroyed during the operation. So she will not be able to get married, and in a society which values women only on the basis of their marriage and their capacity to reproduce, she is going to have a very tough time living in that particular patriarchal setup. So this double discrimination is what Dattani is trying to show here to us. The viewers would now be convinced by the fact that Dattani is a genius playwright, as he brings in such nuanced and such critical insights into his works which only a rare playwright of his genius can think of. This is his achievement. This is the achievement of Dattani as a playwright. In Act 2, we get to know that the operation done on Tara is now posing problems for her, as she has to undergo multiple transplants and operations. Then we get to know that there is this brief altercation between Tara and Rupa, where Tara makes fun of the physical defect of Rupa, and then she comes on with a placard written, "We don't want freaks," all over. So the word freak is a demonizing word. It's a condescending word for Tara and Chandan. She refers to them as freaks. By calling her a freak, Rupa calls her unnatural, beastly, and refers to her in a very subhuman manner. Freaks means anything which is scary, unnatural, something very abnormal. So calling the disabled as freaks is a very crude way of discriminating against the disabled. In fact, it is Rupa and her other friends who are freaks in the real sense of the term, who make fun of and degrade and demean those with physical disability. So in Act 2, in a flashback, Dan is living in London as we go forward, and he gets a call from his father. At this point, Tara and her mother Bharti both are dead. So once again we are at a different place. As we know, the play keeps going on back and forth. So he clearly refuses to come back to India, and we see that Dan is reluctant to go back to his house in Bombay, as he has to face the memories of his past. So he has changed his identity and does not want to be associated with his past in any way. So the changing of the name in a foreign land shows how Dan is trying to change his identity, or possibly trying to forget his identity due to the pain and trauma that he has faced before. So Dan mimes, in the very beginning of the play, Dan mimes removing the metaphorical masks that he has been wearing in a foreign land, that of an intellectual, that of an immigrant, and that of an Asian man. Look at these lines as I am quoting. "Tonight I drop everything I've desperately wanted to be in my years in England, mimes removing a mask and throwing it away. The handicapped intellectual's mask, mimes removing another mask. The desperate immigrant, mimes removing yet another. The mysterious brown with the phony accent." Unquote. So identity is definitely a very important theme in this aspect also, because in this play also, because beneath these masks lies the deep secret and the reality of his sister Tara. Dan, or Chandan, is not able to come to terms with his identity. His real identity still haunts him after all these years in London, and that is why he takes on a different identity, a fake identity. Okay, so I call it fake because these are the masks that he removes, because he is trying to hide his identity from it. Now, the very important point, the next important point is, who is responsible for this entire tragedy of Tara and her family? Do we have any straight-jacketed answers to this question? Can we say that Bharti is responsible for this? Can we say that Patel is responsible for this? Can we say that doctor or the grandfather or the father is responsible for this? Or is none of them responsible for this? Or are all of them responsible for this? Or is there something else? So the play actually shows us the consequence of our decisions based on gender discrimination. What is the fallout of this tragedy? Bharti, the mother, goes mad in guilt and gets under depression and finally dies after a few years from the shock. Tara, as we all know, died because of the failed transplant. Chandan gets the leg, but it has to be cut off. Father is Patel, the father is a weak man, and he remains a mute spectator, and he has to see his entire family crumbling in pieces. So it is a tragedy made by one decision. One decision made by the family ruined the life of Tara, Chandan, the mother, the father, the entire family itself. So therefore, very importantly, this play Tara shows us the consequences of one bad decision taken, and how our decisions based on gender discriminations can destroy everything. The decision was taken as the family believed that the girl does not deserve the leg as much as the boy deserves, and this mistake led to the death of Tara and the breakdown of the entire family. But whose decision was this? Earlier we think it is Patel's, then we get to know that it is Bharti's decisions to do this, because Patel himself was a weak person in the face of the powerful father-in-law and his wife Bharti. So he did not even protest much, but was he really responsible for this? In fact, we get to know only in the last few pages, right towards the end, that it was Bharti and her rich politician father who took this decision. Shall we then blame the grandfather and the mother? Whom to blame? Then there is another angle of Dr. Thakkar. Dr. Thakkar could have simply refused to do this because he knew this operation is unethical, but he still does it because he gets a private nursing home sanctioned by the powerful politician. So there was a personal agenda for him as well. But is Dr. Thakkar at fault? Who is at fault? Or is the whole society at fault? Of course, it is the whole society which is at fault. The interesting part is that I think that Dattani is not blaming the father or Bharti or Dr. Thakkar or the grandfather. He is blaming the entire society here, because this is the society which has set rules for preferring boys over girls. It is the society which believes in lesser rights for girls than boys. It is the society which sets the rules for such discrimination and institutionalizes such prejudices, isn't it? Right? So the parents also decided that the boy Chandan will get the second leg, which was originally and rightfully Tara's as per the doctor's reports. But still they took this decision. Despite all this, the leg was given to Chandan. Why? Because he was a boy. This is the unfortunate tragedy of Tara. So we see how the entire society has in a way institutionalized these prejudices and lesser rights for women, for girl. So the parents also thought, and Dr. Thakkar and everybody is involved in it, and the entire society is the one who is responsible for all of this. It is the society which believes in lesser rights for girls than boys. Dr. Thakkar also operates on the conjoined twins, and it is realized that if operated, then there is a very grave danger for the kids. And the decision was taken by Dr. Thakkar to separate the conjoined twins, but the decision to give the leg was taken by Bharti and her mother, and also Bharti and her father, the grandfather of the kids, and also with the silent, almost non-protesting approval of the father Patel. So all of them, the entire family, took this bad decision. Why? Because they believed, deep down they believed, that it is Chandan who deserves the leg, because he is a boy, he is a man, he can live out in the man's world, and this prejudiced and this highly patriarchal setup, and in this highly patriarchal setup, it is Chandan who stands a better chance. Though by reading the play, we know that it is Tara who is a much more witty character. She is very smart, she is very lively, and if she was given a leg, if she was given the leg which was rightfully hers, she would have made it great in life. So the play also shows how women do not have agency over their own body as well. So in a patriarchal setup, even the women do not have agency over their own bodies. So one wrong decision to give the legs to Chandan creates a very pathetic situation for the entire family, and one of the kids dies miserably, and then the other kid, that is Chandan, he has to let go of his leg, and then he remains crippled for the rest of his life. Right? So you see how the tragedy actually unfolds. So what is this tragedy? I would say that it is more a man-made tragedy rather than a natural tragedy. Right? So I would even go to the extent to say that it is not really a natural disability. Do you think that it is a natural disability? Of course, it was a disability that both the conjoined twins had to face from their birth. It was not within their control, but it is much more a man-made disability that the twins had to go through, isn't it? It is more a man-made disability, and Dattani, as a very social playwright, wants us to understand this aspect. He wants us to understand and to appreciate and to realize that it is a man-made disability. It is not a natural disability. It is rather something which was made, it was something which was created, it was something which was caused by the wrong decision of the family. So you see how this play Tara is a very, if you remember in the initial part of the lecture, I have mentioned how this entire play is a very multi-dimensional play, because it packs in a lot of aspects. It brings in a lot of aspects on the table. It brings in the aspect of gender discrimination, which is running concurrently throughout, of course, as we see, as it is exemplified in the case of Tara, where she is not given the leg which was rightfully hers, but her leg was given to Chandan, which ultimately led to the tragedy. Then we also know how this entire play is also talking about identity issues, because there is this theme of androgyny which runs concurrent throughout, which runs throughout the play. So, and being androgyny, being an androgynous being in an androgynous state, is also a theme which replicates with the idea of the identity. Is Chandan a boy? Is Tara a girl? Well, socially they might be, but biologically they are not, because their sexual organs are completely destroyed post their operation. They were joined from their chest area up till their pelvic area downwards, and because they had to be separated because of the wedge, because of the operation that had taken place, now both these are socially they are on the basis of their gender, they are a male and a female, but biologically they are neither a male nor a female, because their sexual organs are completely destroyed. Therefore, Dattani is hinting at the androgynous state of being. Chandan also likes to, there is one scene in Act 2 where Chandan likes to, in Act 1, where Chandan is seen that he is getting into sewing, he is sewing a sweater. So, this idea infuriates Patel, because Patel is very upset, why should a boy do such a feminine task. So, again and again, Dattani is making us realize, he is giving these ideas in front of us to make the readers think critically on these aspects, to realize that identity is again one very important theme. Then the third theme definitely is the theme of disability, where in the second part of this lecture we have discussed amply about disability as a very, very important theme, from the language that the children use till to the point where Dan towards the end of the play also mentions that the leg which was rightfully could have been Tara's. So, the leg which was originally Tara's had to be given to Chandan. Why? Because of the patriarchal setup, because of the prejudiced way in which, because of the way in which women have to face discrimination in a patriarchal setup. Therefore, it is a natural disability, I would say, rather than a man-made disability that the twins had to go through. So, the readers would now be sure that this is the genius of Dattani that I was mentioning earlier on. This is the way that Dattani writes, from experimentations in his multi-level set up to the point where he brings in different aspects, different thematic aspects, and each thematic aspect is very nicely made. It's very nicely propounded, very nicely expounded. So, on this note, I would end the lecture on Mahesh Dattani's Tara here. I sincerely believe that these points gave the viewers some food for thought. So, that is all from my side on this play. Hope to see you all on some other topic on some other day at CEC-UGC. Till then, keep learning, keep watching. Thank you.